The final countdown.
9、8、7、6、5、4、3、2、1，点火。
Engine starts. And we have a liftoff. The liftoff of Shenzhou-8 spacecraft, carried by Long March 2F rocket from Jiuquan Launch Center into space to join Tiangong-1 China Space Module and test rendezvous and docking technology.
青山 USB 跟踪正常，遥测信号正常。
The tracking stations are reporting on the conditions of the spacecraft and the carrier.
双层光学雷达跟踪正常。
The optical and the radar tracking very normally here from the front. This is a video from the vehicle.
This is the picture captured on the interior.
Yeah, this camera is mounted on the rocket.
On the rocket.
Yeah. This rocket will fly about 583 seconds. Then the vehicle will enter the orbit.
It will take more than 500 seconds for the rocket to complete its mission to send Shenzhou-8 into orbit.
Yeah.
We'll be able to see the solid rocket boosters drop off here.
Yeah.
In about
maybe
several seconds.
But the first action is the separation of the escape tower.
Yeah.
There are two boosters attached to the rocket. They will separate. 4 boosters.
Yeah. In 100 seconds, the booster will be separated from the main rocket. Yeah.
This is an animation of the rocket.
Now the escape tower has been separated successfully.
Yeah.
The escape tower is designed for a manned program. But this time around, there is no astronauts on board, but that is still a part of the spacecraft. The escape tower is for the safety of the astronaut when anything unexpected happens.
Since this is a simulation of a manned mission, it's essential.
Well, that's the separation of the boosters from the main rocket. 4 boosters separated from the rocket.
China's unmanned spacecraft Shenzhou-8 has carried out its first maneuver since its launch on Tuesday morning. Stanley Lee has more.
Shenzhou-8 has completed its first stage of orbit, less than a day after launching. Multiple changes of orbit are still to come as the unmanned spacecraft prepares to dock with Tiangong-1. Engineers on the ground are working hard to set the stage for docking.
For us now, it is all about preparing for the space docking. We're making calculations and monitoring of the orbit of both of the spacecrafts.
The margin for error in docking the 2 spacecraft is 20 centimeters. The procedure is set to take place early Thursday morning, when cameras on board will capture this historic moment.
The footage captured by the cameras will be very important to us. From them, we can actually see the Tiangong-1 drawing near in the docking. Cameras outside the cabin will also record various details.
The rendezvous and docking exercises between the 2 vessels will be an important test of China's ability to master the technology required to run a full space lab that can house astronauts for long stretches. If the docking is successful, it will yield valuable experience for Shenzhou-9 and Shenzhou-10, set for launch in 2012, and a great boon to China's plans to build its own orbital space station. Stanley Lee, CCTV.
Other news, China's Shenzhou-8 spacecraft and Tiangong-1 Space Lab are in the preparation stage for their second docking. They're set to come together again in about a week's time. Unlike the first docking, this one is likely to occur in harsh conditions to test the design and capabilities of the 2 modules. Shenzhou-8 and Tiangong-1 have flown together now for more than 100 hours in space. With the mission running smoothly so far, there will be another 2 days flight after the second docking. The unmanned Shenzhou-8 is scheduled to return to Earth on November the 17th. Following the successful docking of China's unmanned spacecraft Shenzhou-8 with the Space Lab module Tiangong-1, the next step is to send up a team of astronauts. With the crew already chosen and training underway, they will take control of the rendezvous and docking mission between the two spacecrafts. Due to take place next year, the success of the project literally lies in the hands of the astronauts. To achieve the goal, China's Space Center has developed large-scale equipment and training simulators for the astronauts. As well as pursuing theoretical study and undergoing operational training, each crew member will carry out simulated rendezvous and docking protocols 1,000 times each.
China's spacecraft Shenzhou-8 is set to return to Earth in about an hour, coming hours after orbiting the Earth for 17 days, connected with the space module Tiangong-1. So how exactly will Shenzhou-8 return home and what it is about to be through? Let's take a look.
Preparations will soon begin for Shenzhou-8's re-entry after it disconnects from Tiangong-1.
Shenzhou-8 will shift into work mode. We will recharge it and make necessary preparation work on the operating system. Then the two crafts will be undocked.
When Shenzhou-8 and Tiangong-1 are unlocked, two springs will push them apart. Then Shenzhou-8 will be lifted into a higher orbit, about 20 kilometers higher from Tiangong-1.
At this moment, Shenzhou-8 will be flying at an altitude between 340 to 350 kilometers. Then the spacecraft will readjust its position and begin the re-entry procedure.
Shenzhou-8 will lose altitude, dropping to around 150 kilometers. At that point, the return module will separate from the propulsion module.
The temperature will be very high when it enters the atmosphere. The return module will be protected by insulated materials to make sure the temperature inside the craft is bearable for men.
When the return module enters the atmosphere, it will be traveling at great speed. When it reaches an altitude of 10,000 meters, a large parachute will open to reduce speed to 7 meters per second. When the craft reaches the ground, a buffer engine will further reduce the speed to 1 to 2 meters per second.
All right, the weather conditions also is very important at the main landing field, is key to the spacecraft's landing this time. The landing can take place with thunderstorm, rain, or strong winds. While the most important meteorological factor is, of course, the strength of the wind within 100 meters above the ground. Let's take a look.
The parachute of the re-entry capsule is designed to open when it is 10 kilometers above ground. With the help of the parachute, the capsule will then slow down as it approaches the ground. If the wind is too strong, the capsule may fly out of the designated landing area, which will complicate the search and rescue mission. In addition, if the wind speed is too high, the 12,000 square meter parachute may cause the capsule to roll violently. This will threaten the astronaut's safety.
Capsule is made of metal. Thunder and lightning can damage the telecommunication devices on it. Meanwhile, if the electronic components are destroyed, the safety of astronauts will be threatened.
To make sure the capsule can land in designated landing area, engineers have to adjust the capsule's posture according to the change of the wind's direction and speed. There are some basic climate conditions necessary for the search and rescue work when the capsule lands. The speed of the wind at a 300-meter altitude must be within 15 meters per second. No clouds can exist within 1 kilometer above ground. If it snows, the depth of the snow on the ground cannot surpass half a meter. Visibility should be over 10 kilometers.
Strong winds and heavy rains can make the search and rescue more difficult. For example, the helicopters can't take off under such conditions, then we can't find a capsule in time.
A backup landing site has been set up in case of a sudden weather change. The field is about 1,000 kilometers away from the main landing zone.
Shenzhou-8, China's spacecraft, which is disengaged with China's space module Tiangong-1, has returned to the Earth safely just now. Many people are now asking how the air and the ground crew and rescue teams have been operating to help with the return process of the re-entry module. And now let's take a look at how the work has been carried out.
As Shenzhou-8 prepared to land, rescue teams were divided into two parts, air and ground. The air contingent included 6 helicopters. One lead aircraft is the Airborne Command Center. The other aircraft each included an information sharing system. There had been changes to the ways of searching and rescuing the re-entry capsule of Shenzhou-8. In the past, air search and rescue was the focus, with the ground rescue portion acting as complementary. But for Shenzhou-8, the air rescue contingent was in charge of the astronauts, while the ground rescue contingent was responsible for handling the re-entry capsule. And this search and rescue model will also be applied to the re-entry capsule of Shenzhou-8.
The lead aircraft is the command center for air search and rescue contingent. The aircraft, together with 1 telecommunication aircraft and 3 other searching aircraft, will be responsible for a leading area, which is 1,296 square kilometers in size.
Much before the air search and rescue contingent takes flight, 4 ambulances from the ground rescue contingent should arrive at the main landing site, awaiting commands from the Air Command Center.
According to the past assignments, with several of them concerning the re-entry capsule, we saw the re-entry capsule landing from the air. This was due to our accurate forecasts of its landing time and location. The air rescue contingent is of high air mobility.
After positioning the location of the re-entry capsule, the ground rescue contingent should find the capsule within 2.5 hours and carry it to the designated spot. Although the air search and rescue power is increasing, the ground rescue contingent still possesses the power to independently search and rescue the re-entry capsule and rescue astronauts.
To Inner Mongolia now, where China's spacecraft Shenzhou-8 landed just a few hours ago. It had been orbiting the Earth for 17 days to test docking technology with the space module Tiangong-1. Let's take a look.
Mission accomplished. Shenzhou-8 was recovered in the grassland of Inner Mongolia at 8:10 Thursday evening.
The return module of the Shenzhou-8 spacecraft has touched down at the main landing area. I now declare that the docking and rendezvous mission of Shenzhou-8 and Tiangong-1 is a complete success.
The unmanned spacecraft Shenzhou-8 unlatched from China's space lab Tiangong-1 late on Wednesday, preparing to return to Earth. Earlier Thursday, the spacecraft's return module separated from its propulsion module and began its descent. The journey was hazardous. Tremendous heat and a temporary signal blackout all posed a threat. At around 7:20 p.m., Shenzhou-8 managed to readjust its path and re-enter the atmosphere. Later, a large parachute opened, reducing the craft's speed to 7 meters per second. And just before hitting the ground 13 minutes later, a buffer engine was lit to further reduce speed. 6 helicopters took off earlier to recover the capsule, and 4 ambulances arrived at the main landing site, awaiting commands from Air Command Center.
The lead aircraft is the command center for the air search and rescue contingent. The aircraft, together with the telecommunication aircraft and 3 other searching aircraft, will be responsible for a landing area which is over 1,000 square kilometers in size.
The retrieval team found the module in less than 1 hour. It's now to be carried back to undergo inspection. Shenzhou-8 left Earth on October 31st. Over the past 3 weeks, it has completed 2 successful docking with the Tiangong-1. And Tiangong-1 is Space Lab module orbiting the planet since September 29th. The successful mission provides vital know-how to China for its manned space program. China plans another 2 docking missions with Tiangong-1 next year, with at least 1 manned mission. The country plans to establish its own manned space station around 2020. Zhao Yunjie, CCTV.
Meanwhile, Brazilian space experts have extended their congratulations to China on the successful Shenzhou-8 mission following the spacecraft's return to Earth. They say this is more than an achievement for China, but also an example of man's astonishing capabilities.
This mission's success shows China's progress on space exploration. the relevant space technology will enable China to construct Tiangong Space Station from 2012. Witnessing this event gives the Brazilian people pride and excitement, as it shows the determination of all nations in the world to develop space technology for peaceful purposes. I congratulate the scientific progress of our human race.
Now, for more about the Shenzhou-8 returning to Earth, we are joined by Dr. Yang Yuguang from the China Aerospace Science and Industry Cooperation. Well, Yuguang, thanks for joining us. Compared with the previous missions, what is the difference of Shenzhou-8 this time? Why is it important?
It is very important because Shenzhou-8, 9, and 10 will be the standard version of our space transportation system. The main goal of manned spaceship is to bring person or crew from the ground to target either a space station or a deep space goal, and then safely turn them back. So after this mission and Shenzhou 9, 10, we will have a standard space transportation system. So the landing of this Shenzhou 8 spaceship is quite important to prove that after successful rendezvous and docking, it also safety for human being to be safely brought back.
We know that there are other countries like former Soviet Union and the United States they did it about decades ago, rendezvous and docking. And now China is catching up. So what is your assessment of the technological level of Chinese space industry?
Someone says that our space station will be the only space station of humankind after retirement of the International Space Station. But I should say, even after retirement of ISS, we cannot say we play a leading role in space technology. We still have a long way to go, and we still have many breakthroughs to take. For example, we need large rocket engines for our future giant launchers. But as a developing country, I can say that it is a very great achievement to have the rendezvous and docking technology, and we have adopted many advanced technologies for this Shenzhou-8 mission.
So next year, we are about to see manned docking missions. What exactly does that mean? Does that mean that we will have a space station with astronauts living on board?
We will have astronauts on board the Tiangong-1 target vehicle, but we cannot say we have the space station because we test many technologies necessary for our future space station, but Tiangong-1 is only a rudiment for our future space station technology. And the 3 astronauts on board will test many experiments for short-term duration of manned activities in space, including the female astronauts.
Okay, it is just the beginning of China's space station program.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yuguang, for that.
Shenzhou-8 unmanned spacecraft has safely returned after a 17-day mission in space. The Information Office of the State Council has just held a press conference, and a senior official from the Manned Spacecraft Engineering Office described the significance for the country.
自此，天宫1号、Shenzhou-8号
Shenzhou-8, together with Tiangong-1, has successfully completed 4 missions: accurate entry into orbit, precise docking, steady operation, and safe return. It demonstrates that China has mastered the technology of space docking. It's a milestone for China's manned spacecraft engineering.
Right now, for more on Shenzhou-8's safe return, let's join on the line with our reporter Shen Le in Beijing. Hello there, Shen Le.
Hi, Jimmy.
First of all, what does this successful mission mean for China's future space exploration?
Well, Shenzhou-8's mission this time is vital for the next phase of China's own space program. The main objective of this mission is to test the reliability of China's independently developed docking technology. In the future, when China has its own space station ready in space, astronauts will commute by taking shuttle pods, and freight pods will carry supplies to the station. Now, all of these missions will require rendezvous and docking. So you can see this technology as an infrastructure technology for the entire space program. And this time, the successful completion of the mission has proven this infrastructure is going to function as desired.
All right. Well, you've been closely following the both the launch and the return of Shenzhou-8. So tell us, what are the next steps for the manned spacecraft?
Well, next year we're expecting the Shenzhou-9 and 10. They are both similar to Shenzhou-8, but at least one of them will be a manned mission. They will blast off into space next year and attempt to dock with Tiangong-1 and form China's own space station. This is especially significant after the International Space Station has terminated its use, and it will be open to scientists from all over the world. So scientists, regardless of their nationality, can join together and conduct joint experiments and expand the boundaries of science. And meanwhile, China's own lunar program and Mars programs will also attempt to send probes and hopefully men onto the moon and Mars, respectively. Back to you, Donna.
Thank you very much, Shenle, reporting from Beijing.
And into the last part, China's Shenzhou-8 mission has been formally declared a success. The spaceship returned to Earth on Thursday after 2 space docking procedures with the Tiangong-1 Space Lab. On Friday, despite the celebrations, officials were already looking towards the future, as our reporter Liu Haining tells us.
Shortly after 7 p.m. local time on Thursday, Shenzhou-8 sped through the upper atmosphere and landed according to plan in Inner Mongolia. Speaking to domestic and international media at Friday morning's press conference, spokesperson for China's Manned Space Engineering Office, Wang Zhaoyao, hailed Shenzhou-8 as a complete success.
Shenzhou-8 has fully realized its goals of carrying out an accurate entry into orbit, precise rendezvous and docking, a stable assembly operation and a safe return.
During the mission, Shenzhou-8 and Tiangong-1 carried out a series of scientific experiments. 17 tests examined the effects of space on various life forms, including a number of small fishes, were jointly developed by German and Chinese scientists. The experiments were recovered safely from the module after it landed. Despite the success, Wang says China's space career still has a long way to go.
We still can't claim that China's manned space technology has yet matured. More than 40 years ago, Russia and the US sent men into space and started building space labs and stations. Compared to them, we're well behind. The structure of international space exploration has been formed gradually. 1 or 2 successful test projects will not change that structure.
The safe return of Shenzhou-8 marked the end of a 49-day mission, launched respectively on September 29th and November 1st. Tiangong-1 and Shenzhou-8 carried out 2 space dockings on November 3rd and again on November 14th. Wang says a full analysis of the mission is underway and will finish by the end of this year. Only then can detailed future space plans be made. By welcoming Shenzhou-8 back home, China is one step forward to have its own manned space station around 2020. And next year, Shenzhou-9 and Shenzhou-10 will be launched into the space to meet Tiangong-1. The journey has just started, and there's a long way to go. Liu Haining, CCTV,
China's
Beijing.
unmanned spacecraft Shenzhou-8 has arrived in Beijing after its successful landing in Inner Mongolia 2 days ago. Samples and equipment carried to space for the mission will be put on public display next Monday. Launched on November the 1st, Shenzhou-8 carried out 2 space dockings with Orbit Lab Tiangong-1, the first on November the 3rd and then again on November the 14th. Shenzhou-8 and Tiangong-1 carried out a series of scientific experiments, including tests to examine the effects of space travel on various life forms. China plans another 2 docking missions with Tiangong-1 next year, including at least 1 manned mission.